Guys, welcome back. It is RacerX, and today I'm back with my good buddies at Clay, Cooley, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, Ram in Irving, Texas. And I have got a really interesting matchup for you. Behind me, you can see a couple of really nice cars. Of course, this is my 2020 Mustang GT Premium. And then right here, I have got a 2019 3LT Corvette Stingray. This should be a really interesting matchup because today we're going to put them down through there. We're going to do a 60 to 130 test to see which one of these two monsters is truly the highway king. It should be fun. It is a super windy, ridiculously windy day outside here in Texas. What do you do? Anyway, guys, if you are new to my channel, make sure you slap subscribe, hit that like button, and we are out of here. We got the 1,000 horsepower helmet. God. Okay, so I'm actually hiding out of the wind in the Mustang for the moment. Now, a little while back, you probably saw me do a couple of different tests. If you follow my channel at all, I've done a few of these 60 to 130 tests. And, I did the Mustang versus the Scat Pack, and the Mustang, as expected, really won out on that. That's where this car really does shine with that 10-speed transmission mounted to that Coyote. It is just a really nice working combination. Now, when I tested it against the Camaro SS, things changed a little bit. That race was actually extremely close, and I actually had a convertible version of the SS, and I think it almost would have been a draw between the Mustang, of course both 10 speeds, but the Mustang and the Camaro were very close. Now the Corvette is a little bit of a different story now because we're talking about a much lighter car, but this car actually features an 8-speed transmission versus the 10-speed in this Mustang, so it kind of makes for an interesting test. So guys, in this matchup, really the Corvette should have the advantage. Sorry about the wind, guys. My apologies. I'm going to tuck into the car in just a second.
People have been spotted in the water here in Blackrock and Salt Hill, both today and yesterday.
But I want to give you a couple of the specs. So when you talk about the Mustang, you're looking at almost 3,700 pounds full weight. It is a 5-liter naturally aspirated Coyote engine, 460 horsepower, 420 torque. When you talk about the Corvette, this is 300 pounds lighter, like 3365, even in the convertible. It's 300 pounds lighter. This engine puts out 455 horse, 460 on the torque on this. So almost the same horsepower, way more torque, way more aerodynamic. But this is an 8-speed, as I mentioned, versus the 10-speed in the Coyote. Makes for a very, very interesting comparison. Now, when you look at the outside of these two cars, of course, you've got a 2-seater. Technically, the Mustang is a 4-seater, although the back seats are so minuscule, it's it's kind of iffy to say that. But the back of the Corvette is quite striking, very angular on the taillights, big exhaust pipes on the back of this bad boy. And, of course, this particular one is a convertible because, well, that's what they had. Of course, you have bigger wheels on this, 20-inch wheels on the Corvette. And as you look at my Mustang here, 18-inch wheels are what come on this particular package. Not ideal. I'm going to replace these wheels, but a very different shape altogether. And as you can see, even in the back of the car where the Corvette has that center exit for the exhaust, this one has the dual exhaust coming out on the sides here. Both of them great looking cars, very interesting comparison. Obviously, from a cost perspective, if you were looking at new cars, the Mustang is going to be far less expensive than the Corvette is. Very different seating position in these two cars. Well, let's see how it goes. So just a real quick look at the inside of the C7 Stingray Corvette. A very nice place to sit. It is driver centric. You can see that it does angle slightly towards the driver there in the center section. Very nice gauges, heads up display. This is a 3LT car, guys, so this one's pretty decked out. It's got these beautiful leather Corvette seats in it. I mentioned it is a 2-seater, so you're looking at basically just a firewall right here behind you. But very usable center section, 8-speed transmission here in the middle. It does have that nice infotainment center screen there. Everything very usable, right where you want it in this car. Flat bottom steering wheel, and just a very sharp package indeed on the C7. And then you compare it to the inside of the Mustang GT. Now, of course, I do have these Recaro seats, one of the reasons I absolutely loved this particular spec on this car. But you can see this, by comparison, is a very neutral driving experience. The infotainment screen right there in the middle is very comparable in size. This one, of course, does not have heads-up display, but it does have a digital dash, which is absolutely fantastic. Center sections are about the same size. Of course, this car does have a very small back seat. It's back there, guys. Not huge, but it is there. There you go. So there's a good look at the back seat there. So you could technically get 4 people in this one versus the Corvette. This one also has, it's kind of cool, it has those little toggle switches down there at the bottom. Both these cars are very kind of nice on the inside, but very, very different in terms of just how they feel to sit in. This one does sit slightly higher than the Corvette, but it is interesting to just kind of take a look and compare the two. Here is a real quick look at the driving position inside the C7 Corvette, and it is a very nice place to sit. The seat is actually quite comfortable. The gauge cluster here is actually very nice, digital right here in the middle. And of course, like I said, you do have more of a driver-centric type feel in this, so it does wrap around a little bit like a Challenger would. So it has kind of a similar feel. However, this car feels like it builds up slightly a little more around you. Of course, you've got the oh crap handle here. And then, of course, a little bit more curved in terms of what the passenger side looks like, and it's not quite as big as in a Challenger, but it is so it's a very cockpit type feel, but a very nice place to sit. I do kind of like the red accents in this car as well, but and of course when you look down here at the doors, you do get your window controls, only 2 windows in this, as you know. Of course, your door locks and all that good stuff. Your climate controls are all basically where you'd want them to be. Cup holders, similar to in the Mustang. This is actually slightly wider than maybe in the Mustang. Of course, this is an auto 8-speed, but a very nice comfortable place to do business here in the Corvette. This is actually a 3LT Corvette. It's about as decked out as you can get one of these cars. Like I said, it is a very nice place to sit. Now, it does have the dynamic drive modes. I've gone ahead and selected. There are multiple ones to choose from, of course. We're going to be doing some street testing on this, so I'm going to select track, of course. Now, for the purposes of this test, I'm also going to be using my good friend, the Draggy. Yes, this is really, in my mind, this is the absolute best way to measure acceleration when you're comparing 2 different cars, because it's the same instrument in both cars, and it works on GPS. It's actually very, very accurate. And once again, we're going to be taking an average of 3 different runs from 60 to 130, same stretch of road, Velocidad, Mexico. And so it's going to take me a little while to get there, but we're going to head on over. We're going to do the best of 3 runs, average it out, and we'll see which car comes out on top. It should be fun. I have to admit that driving the Corvette, and it's been a little while, I've owned several Corvettes, a lot of you guys know that about me, but it does bring back some great memories. I absolutely love the heads-up displays in these cars, and it's just amazing how low to the ground these cars really sit, and just how different they feel from driving a Camaro, a Mustang, a Scat Pack. I mean, they just sit very low to the ground. You feel very in control, and you just feel very plugged in to what the car is doing. It's kind of a nice experience. So on this sort of test, if you were to say do a 0 to 60 test between the Corvette and the Mustang GT, I would really have to favor the Corvette in that one for sure, because I do feel like this one being not only 300 pounds lighter. In the convertible, it's 300 pounds lighter, but also the fact that it has more torque. You're talking 460 pound-feet of torque in this one versus only 420 on the Mustang. I gotta believe that the Corvette wins all day long. Now, it may change a little bit 60 to 130 because that Coyote really does some business. I really do have a little bit of a sweet spot for the Corvette. I always have, even back when I had my C5 Z06s. There's just something about driving one of these cars. It's just so American and just so much fun in terms of the way they handle, the way they look. They're just very special cars to me. But it's so interesting. I mean, on paper, this car should win the 60 to 130 test. It's a more expensive car, but there's just, that Mustang just punches so far above its weight on the highway. I really don't know who's going to win. All right, Draggy is all set. Here we go. Run 1 in the C7 Corvette. Let's see what it does. And we are off. She's moving really good. That's all she wrote. So, verdict is in. Pass 1 in the Corvette, 10.82. Wow, that is throwing down the gauntlet right there. I gotta say, this thing doesn't really lose any momentum once you get into the triple digits. Wow.
30.
number 2 out of the Corvette was a 10.93. This thing is putting down some really solid numbers. I think it's going to be pretty hard for the Mustang to match what this thing is doing. I mean, it's just so aerodynamic and so light. Anyway, we're going to go ahead with pass number 3, and then we'll get our average. Here we go with the final pass number 3 in the C7 Corvette. Let's see what it does. It's moving. Car's rolling. Woo. That's it. Wow. All right, so that last pass out of the Corvette was a 10.85. The car was very, very consistent. And so I'm going to go ahead and work up the average on this. I mean, it really threw down the gauntlet. I don't see the Mustang keeping up with it, but you just never know. So anyway, let's see what we averaged out. All right, so after 3 valid runs, we had a 1082, we had a 1093, and then a 1085 for an average of a 1086 out of the Corvette. So very stout indeed. Let's see what the Mustang will do. So now I am aboard the 2020 Mustang GT, and right away as I get in this car, you can feel just what a different driving car that it is. I mean, it's like I said, you sit up higher off the ground. I do absolutely love my seats in this car, but this thing just has a heavier steering feel to it. It's just different. I don't know how else to explain it. A completely different driving experience, even though they're both enjoyable in their own right. So headed over to Velocidad now to get these 3 runs in, and we'll see who comes out on top. So when I ran the Mustang before, it performed quite solid, but I believe it averaged to be like 11.10 is what it was. So it didn't quite break into the 10s on the average. And so it's going to have its hands full trying to get a 1086 or beat a 1086. That was what was thrown down by the Corvette. The DA, I think when I ran it against the Camaro, was similar to what it is today as well. But you never know. So we're going to go put it down through. We're almost to the spot. We'll see how it goes. I have finally reached the spot in Velocidad, Mexico, and I am getting the Mustang all ready to go. The Dragy's ready. I'm actually going to put it in drag mode, which is pretty cool because that's one thing the Corvette does not have is drag mode, and this thing really does shift hard in drag strip mode. And so here we go with run 1. We are off. Oh, car's running good. Oh boy, this thing shifts hard. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's it. Run 1 in the Mustang. A little slower than what I thought. That was in 1160. I actually had some wheel spin in like the top of 3rd gear or something. I'm not sure what happened, but in 1160. So actually a little slower pass than I expected from the Mustang there. But at any rate, we'll go ahead and give round 2 a shot.
30. 60. Quarter mile. 130.
Round 2 in the 2020 Mustang GT was an 1157. So really consistent out of the car. Weird thing is I'm getting some wheel spin at like right at 60 miles an hour. The car is shifting so hard that it's actually spinning the tires. So at any rate, let's go ahead and try pass number 3.
60.
Man, this thing is shifting so hard. Spun the tires again. Wow. Pass number 3 in the Mustang was an 1188, so even slower still. I'm getting like the car is going and it's shifting so incredibly hard right at 60 miles an hour. It's spinning the tires in drag mode. So I'm kind of thinking that might actually affect the result. I might try one more pass just for the heck of it in track mode to see if it still spins the tires like right at 60. I think that's really affecting the time. All right, I'm actually going to give it just one more quick shot because all 3 runs, this car shifted so hard in drag mode that it spun the tires right at 60 miles an hour. And I think it hurt the time. So I'm going to try it one time in regular track mode to see if the same thing happens.
60.
ripping. That's all she wrote. Yeah, that was an 11.13, so a little better when it's not spinning the tires. So I might have to do a couple more runs using only that mode. All right, pass 2 in track mode, not in drag mode. Hopefully it won't spin, so we'll be in good shape. Here we go. No spin, nice and smooth. It's still ripping. Oh, come on, Mustang. Woo! That's it. All right, so 11.36 on that pass. So slowing down just a little bit. So I might just give it one more run because at least the car's not spinning right at 60 miles an hour using track mode. All right, last shot at glory in the Mustang here. This time, like I said, in track mode. It's not spinning in track mode at 60, so here we go. She's off. Oh, jeez. It's still shifting pretty hard, but it's not spinning. That's it. All right, that last one was an 11.29, so a little bit better result when the car is not spinning at 60 mile an hour. So anyway, we'll get our averages and see how everything stacked up. All right, so the verdict is now in on the Mustang. And of course, those last 3 runs were in track mode as opposed to drag mode. Hopefully you guys can hear it in the video, but the first 3 runs, the car literally was spinning at 60 miles an hour. It was shifting so hard on the street. Of course, on the drag strip, it probably wouldn't do that. But at any rate, the last 3 runs are probably a little bit more accurate. So an 11.13, an 11.36, and an 11.29. What that means is the car averaged in 11.26. And that actually is right about what the car should have done. It actually is higher DA than the last time I ran it against the Camaro. I just looked, and truth is the car is actually behaving just like it should. It's very consistent. So 11.26 is actually pretty solid work out of the Mustang. But when you compare it to the Corvette C7, I have to say the Corvette C7 really threw down the gauntlets, because it went what? It went a 10.86 and then a 11.26 for the Mustang, which meant exactly 0.4 difference between the C7 and the Mustang GT. 0.4 is pretty significant in this test. But you got to remember, the Corvette is lighter and more aerodynamic. So despite the fact the Mustang has the 10-speed working in its favor in drag mode, which turned out to be kind of less in its favor, but the Corvette is just the clear winner here, 0.4 faster. Now, the Corvette is also $25,000 more money, so you have to keep that in mind, you know, when you compare it to maybe sometimes even 30, depending upon how the Mustang GT is equipped and how the Corvette is equipped. You know how that works, that you can spend a lot of money on aftermarket stuff and, of course, on factory options as well. But at any rate, big price difference between the two. So is that price difference really worth 0.4? That is completely up to you. But it was a very fun test between these two, and a little surprising. I really thought that the Corvette and the Mustang would be a little bit closer, but the Corvette is the clear winner here. Well, guys, there you go. The result was super close as expected. It's been a really fun comparison between the C7 and the Mustang GT. So anyway, guys, super windy outside today, so sorry I kind of had to hide in the car for the most part. You can see the ginormous flags up there just going nuts. They're ripping. But anyway, I want to real quickly thank my buddies here at Clay Cooley, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, Ram in Irving, Texas once again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know about it in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.